Hello, 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 everyone. It has been calling me to jump on Monday and chat about something that has been coming up in my life, the lives of people that I love, and also just collective consciousness because nothing's ever just ours, right? And so I wanted to take a moment to reflect on this and also invite you to ask questions and be a part of this. This is going to be about a 15-minute conversation. So I wanted to chat about expansion and contraction. And the beginning of this conversation may be a little bit of something that you already know, because if you're following me, you probably already know about this. Expansion, right? Expansion of our energy, ability for our truth to start shining, ability for us to step into our power, right? So expansion of our energy allows for a broadening of the container that we can hold in our body of what's possible for us. And that reflects our internal environment and our external environment. So when we expand our energy, we can hold all of ourselves, all the parts of ourselves, the scared parts, the nervous parts, the angry parts. And we can also hold the energy of the collective as well, and show up more as the light beings and the healers that we're meant to be. Hey guys, some people are popping on. Hey Nancy, there's a bunch of you. Wow, I wasn't looking. And then there's something called contraction. And this is when the nervous system is moving through this expansion process. And in the moving through the expansion process, it finds these contraction points. So it kind of moves back into itself. It gets really internal. Now, an unconscious contraction could show up like fighting with ourselves, like fighting in our ego mind, fighting with what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. We go back into duality. We start projecting onto other people, right? Hi, Andy. Hey, Adam. So it could show up like that if it's unconscious. It could be arguments, things like that. It could be projections. It could be judgment, right? Shame, depression, things like that. Now, the contraction is a very natural process. I actually, when I work with clients now, I'll usually tell them, like after we have a really expansive session, that we're going to move into some deep contraction now, and it's just going to come up. It's going to come up because, think about childbirth, think about orgasm, right? Orgasm's more fun, so we'll talk about that. Childbirth is fun too, but I vote orgasm. So in the orgasm, before the orgasm, there's a contraction in the body, right? The muscles are literally contracting around the body. And then the orgasm itself is this very expansive experience, right? Heart opens, letting go, relaxing back. And then we contract again at the end, which is often when our bodies want to be held, touched, right? There wants to be like a come down period. In BDSM, it's a similar game where there's an expansion where maybe the submissive goes into a depth of surrender that they haven't felt before. And often before there's a contraction, right? Like this fear space, or can I really let go? Is it really safe? Can I really trust? So that's pretty normal in the submissive's mind. And the body of a submissive, when they first enter into this context, is usually pretty tight and tense. They're not already relaxed. And then the expansion happens, and then at the end of it, the submissive needs the come down period, the love. And that's what I'm getting at here, is that in this expansion and contraction, it shows up in the bedroom. It shows up also in real life, right? It shows up around any areas of our life where we're being called to step further into our truth and unravel our ego. So finances, business, relationships, love. Actually, relationships kind of encompass everything, because business is a relationship, money's a relationship, parenting is a relationship, right? And because this expansion and contraction doesn't only happen in the bedroom, doesn't only happen in intimacy practices, And because it also plays out in the real world, we want to start to really look at it. And not only look at it, but find a way that we can play with it, right? Once we understand that the only thing that's happening is this kind of up-down motion, then it becomes a bit of a game of catching and noticing, bringing awareness of like, ooh, when am I in expansion and when am I in contraction? And now here's a myth I want to bust. There's a common myth that when we're in contraction, we then have to do something about it or shift somehow in order to go to a place back into expansion. And so I see this a lot with clients. I see this a lot in the world where we're in this contracted state. And then right away, it's let me analyze it and figure out why, right? So we go into spiritual self-analysis, right? To try to get back to the light, to try to find the place of joy again and expansion that we were in. We start figuring out what in our environment is contracting us. So I have to move. I don't like my house anymore. I have to break up with so-and-so. I have to end this relationship. I have to go to a yoga class. Like we start seeking, right, in this contracted space. And we often make decisions that are not actually in our highest truth, right? Sexually, it looks like being in the contracted space and then making choices not in truth. So things like shutting down sexually and still saying yes to your partner, even though it's not real to you. That would be an example of a contraction. Or sexually about to experience that orgasmic, blissful orgasm and then getting right into our heads right away and analyzing it, all of it, right? Or about to deeply surrender to your dominant and then all of a sudden like analyzing and critiquing them and projecting onto them and figuring out what they're doing wrong and why you can't trust them, right? So these are all just like some examples of contraction. And if you're watching, I'd love for you to add in, what do you find yourself doing? If you can be so vulnerable to let us know what is a common contraction mechanism for you. Okay, so I think I gave enough examples. All of that being said, rather the biggest thing, if you get nothing else from today, the thing that really called me to get on this live today and be here with you and talk about this is that the contraction is never ever something that we need to push away or run away from or analyze. Never, never, ever, 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 because it's a big game, remember? And the expansion will happen again. What makes the contraction stay is that we start to compound it with mental noise. We get out of our brain, our nervous system starts to move in and constrict, and then we leave our body or we run away, right, from the natural flow of energy that already knows what to do to get us into our true state. So in the contraction, things that we can do instead: ease, love, pleasure, acceptance for ourselves, for anyone around us that we feel might be in contraction. There's a softening and a letting in rather than a pushing away and a fixing, right? And this is in the bedroom, in love relationships, and also around money, business, right? Life. So when we go, I know I did this from years and years and years of personal development. I was always, oh no, there's something going on with my mindset. My belief systems are effed up. And so I need to fix them, right? I need to fix my belief systems because they're effed up, and that's what's holding me back from the success that I desire, right? See how warped that is? See how ego-centric and heady that process was. And so what would happen is I would then go on this fixing journey and go on this really deep fixing journey, and I would the beliefs weren't actually shifting. I was trying to pretend that they were. And then the same thing kept happening again and again in my life. And the way that we know that we're holding the contraction appropriately, with love, with awareness, with respect, with ease, is if the expansions seem to get bigger each time that we expand, right? So the less that we constrict the contraction, the more room that we have to expand outward, the more that we love this entire dance, this whole process, the more that we can keep expanding outward. And then what will happen is we'll begin to not identify as much with these contractions. So when the orgasm evades us, rather than, oh my God, I can't orgasm, I don't know what's wrong with me, or when we're struggling with surrender to our dominant, oh my God, I can't surrender, what's wrong with me? Let me figure out my belief system and what's going on and why this is all effed up. We start to notice that we can then instead take that piece of ourselves and bring it in and love her, right? Take that piece of ourselves and bring it into our body and bring pleasure and bring ease and bring joy and trust. And the thing about trust is that it's not a getting to trust. Like there's nowhere that we need to go to find trust. We already have it. It's right inside of us. It's who we are. We're love, and love is naturally trusting. And maybe there are containers and boundaries that will support the expansion of your experience so that the contraction is not so deep, right? Like maybe there are actual external things like recognizing, okay, but I have to have this conversation around something, or I need to set up certain boundaries in order to really allow for deeper expansion and less contraction. Like I need to be with my partner for 25 minutes after the orgasm versus only 5, right? So it's these conversations, or I need space after the orgasm rather than connecting. So these conversations allow us to continue to move toward the expansion. And just a final note that the expansion is also not a place to get to. The expansion is the natural mechanism of our energy. It's the natural state of who we are. If you've ever met a newborn baby, you've seen it. They're already expanded, right? They're already there. Like we don't look at a newborn baby and say, here are the things that you need in order to be light. You already are light. And so it's not that we're on this journey of finding more and more expansion. It's simply that we're on a journey of allowing. And when we're on a journey of allowing, then we can bring all of it into ourselves. Trust this whole journey and bring it all in. Love ourselves and accept ourselves fully on the game and the ride of our human experience. And then the expansion becomes a natural flow and allows for greater ease, abundance, orgasmic ecstasy, love, bliss, all the goodness, right? All the goodness is right here in this piece, all the goodness. So I hope there was something here for you. I'm going to read comments. I'm on Insta and Facebook at the same time. And if you guys have questions, I have 2 minutes. So let me just move my Instagram situation. Okay. Nancy says, this message is resonating with me in a lovely way. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. And Jessica likes my purple. And the light and the hair. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. Awesome. Nancy said, choose joy. Yeah, and Nancy, it's already chosen, right? It's like when people say, I want to learn how to trust, or I want to learn how to be happy, or I want to find, like, I want to choose joy. It's already there. It's funny because I have a choose love tattoo. So like, yes, there's a conscious choice, but less about choosing, I'm recognizing, and more about just becoming aware that it's already there. Like the love, I don't have to choose it. It's already there. It's already me. The expansion, I don't have to choose it. It's already there. It's already me. The joy, I don't have to choose it. It's already there, right? And in that space, we can show up fully and really hold ourselves to our highest, as well as holding everyone else to their highest, which is really just the truth, right? And Nancy, yeah, you summed it up perfectly. I'll close with this. She said, we are love and we are joy. Thank you. Thanks for being on, guys. If you have any questions watching the replay, just hashtag replay and tag me in it, because I might lose you. And I don't want to. And yeah, and if you want to have a conversation about this, or if this is something that's been showing up in your life, this kind of circling that I was talking about before, where we're constricting in the contraction and we're struggling with finding the natural ease and flow and rhythm of us, of our truth, reach out to me and we can look at perhaps connecting on a call. So we'll play with that and see if it's something that feels good to you, but it's worth reaching out and exploring it if this is something resonating. All right, my loves, have an amazing rest of your Monday. Keep finding your truth. Thank you for being here, and enjoy the pleasure in the moment. Enjoy the pleasure of the day. I wish you many happy, expansive, blissful orgasms all day long. Ciao.